So this is a video in which he did entitled Wisdom of the Crowd Predicts Trump Landslide. Farage says polls are lying to suppress Trump vote. So let's see what insightful things Tim Pool has to say.
In 2016, Nate Silver of 538 got it wrong. And I'm not talking about the general election. He gave Donald Trump, I believe, a 27% chance of winning. And then when Donald Trump won, he said, I gave him slightly better than 1 in 4. I wasn't wrong. The polls were off. My forecast was correct, and Trump won.
Nate Silver being the guy behind 538, the website we were looking at prior to this video, pretty accurate in terms of a forecast. Like, in 2016, they were one of the closer people in that they were basically saying up until the election, hey, guys, don't assume Trump can't win. He's still got a decent chance. It's going to be narrow, but he can do it. And then, lo and behold, in 2016, Trump loses the popular vote, but he wins the Electoral College by something like 70,000 votes spread across multiple swing states. So the 538 average is my go-to specifically because it tends to be pretty accurate, and it doesn't seem to try and push any narrative, right? They're just trying to report the data as best as they can.
Having a 27% chance of winning means very often you actually win. Right now, 538 is giving Donald Trump a 10% chance of winning. The only problem, as I said, he was wrong. But what was he wrong about? Michigan. He said with
the polling in Michigan was very bad in 2016, that's for sure. Well, I'm interested to see what's going to happen this year. I really, really hope Michigan doesn't go red. I'll be so disappointed in my home state. But it's possible. The polling was all over the place, and honestly, in 2016 for Michigan. Do you guys remember Hillary Clinton was polling ahead of Bernie Sanders in the lead up to the 2016 election in the primary? And Biden ended up winning Michigan, or not Biden, I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders ended up winning Michigan by like 20 points, just killing the polling. So I don't know what's going on with Michigan and the inaccurate polling, but it'll be interesting to see if they've corrected models and ways of contacting people for polls this election to see if they're closer. I'm not very familiar with polling in 2018 and what the margin of error was on that, but
the tools of capitalism.
Wind Chanter, thank you for the 201 bits.
Absolute certainty that Hillary Clinton would defeat Bernie Sanders in Michigan. He couldn't call that race. The polls were a disaster. And right now, the polls are saying Joe Biden is going to win, but for some reason, the wisdom of the crowd suggests Donald Trump will actually win.
The wisdom of the crowd works for certain things. If you don't know about wisdom of the crowd, the idea is basically that if let's say you have one of those contests where you have a jar full of jelly beans, some unknown number, and you say, okay, guess how many jelly beans are in the jar. One person's guess is going to be off, but if you get 100 people, get 1,000 people to all guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, and then you average all of their guesses, then theoretically, the number that will be given as the average will be closer than most of the individual guesses. If you average out people's guesses, you tend to get a somewhat accurate result because some people are going to underguess, some people are going to overguess, and you can come to sort of a... But this only works in things like, look at these jelly beans in this jar, right? People are not good at... People aren't even good at guessing jelly beans, much less looking at the people around them in their own social bubbles and looking at, like Sargon did in the earlier video, looking at, like, political signs in people's yards and then trying to extrapolate from that, you know, who's going to win an election. It's a terrible, terrible way of trying to determine who's going to win an election. I don't even know why someone would do this outside of trying to make a BS poll, not even really a poll, to make some BS thing that says, like, the wisdom of the crowd says Trump will win. That's not how you determine polling for elections. It's just not how you do it. Tucker White 94. Translation, the polls say this, but my feels say a Trump win. Yeah. Who was Lupine? This is my first stream with Hannah. It was the kitty. The kitty who was up here a second ago, but I think she just jumped and went away. She's had enough politics. I understand, Lupine. DJ Fusion 11, thank you for following. Welcome to the stream.
The wisdom of the crowd is when you ask everyone what they think will be or what is, and then you kind of get a distributed model or distributed answer. One person probably doesn't have all the answers. That's why communism doesn't work.
What? I'm drawing a blank on how that's connected. That just feels like a complete non sequitur to me, but we don't have time to go into that today.
But a large group of people will give you a sort of...
Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Well, then I'm out. You can be replaced, Hannah, but there's only one lupine. Understandable.
Who wants to be a millionaire? Ask the audience distribution. The way it works is, if you ask one person who's going to win, they might say, Joe Biden. You say, okay, should I trust him? Should I trust Nate? So,
you shouldn't trust any individual person who is using their personal experience to inform who's going to win a national election based on the Electoral College, because that's going to be a state-by-state thing, and someone's local experience within their own city or whatever is not going to be indicative of the state as a whole, much less the trends in the country as a whole. So no, that wouldn't work. That's why we have statisticians whose entire job is to figure out how to create models and polling that give an accurate picture of what's going on. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Well, read that one. Antipodian's good with 20 bits. You liar. No one can replace Hannah. You guys have not seen my clone. It's over there. It's in a vat. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Please give me some words to calm down. I'm drawing a blank. Empty the tanks with 20 bits. Lupine says trans rights.
She does say trans rights. She loves her mama and her mommy.
Fox News poll on government-run healthcare plans, 72% in favor, 29% oppose. Wow.
I am Baja Blast. I am Hannah's girlfriend.
Captain Rose, the 20 bits. Sorry for the aside. As a fellow trans gal who suffered with a lot of shit while trying to date, your relationship with Baja is adorable and goals. Thank you. Tiger White 94. How do we know you're not the clone, Hannah? I don't wear an eye patch. The clone has an eye patch. Their eyes are fine. They just really like how it looks.
And I'm not dating the clone, so I wouldn't be here.
Plus, clone Baja has a goatee. So if we ever see Baja with a goatee, you'll know it's the clone.
Silver. But if you ask 100 people, you might get 60 people saying Joe Biden and 40 people saying Donald Trump. And then you might say, interesting. What makes them think this? You know, I would take 100 Nate Silvers at their word, but one guy who happens to be an expert, I'm not entirely convinced he's correct. Well,
okay, if Nate Silver was just some random dude who was just out of nowhere with absolutely no data points saying, here's who I think is going to win the election, I would agree with you, but that's not what Nate Silver and 538 are doing. They have a statistical model that they've built based on past elections and their model in the past that they've updated that is using statistical analysis done by professional pollsters. This is not just pulling a number or a result out of their butts. It's statistical analysis. It's their entire job. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Aha, we have learned from the statement that Clone Hannah uses they-them pronouns, the Lord deepens.
There's nothing funny about the tools of
Does the goatee mean Clone Baja is evil?
She is indeed.
Cool. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. My fears are not calmed, Hannah. I am sorry. MMO addicted to 20 bits. So Clone Hannah stays with Baja and Clone Baja stays with Hannah. And when you reunite, it's a foursome. Well, science has solved long-distance relationships for now. Jesus Christ. Panda with 30 bits. Oh my god, my only ride to my mandatory doctor's appointment every month just basically shrugged and said, sucks to be you. Now I have 0 options left for my only pain control. Let me die already. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that person flaked on you. Hopefully you'll be able to find someone else who can give you a ride.
Well, USC Dornsif has been asking experimental questions, and I've covered this quite a bit. This is not the main bulk of what I want to talk to you about. They are asking people how they think their friends will...
USC Dornsif. USC Dorn... Just trying to figure out who UFC or USC Dornsif is. Ugh, got shivers down my spine. Is there a Wikipedia page on these people?
Hannah is ticklish literally everywhere, and it's so annoying.
USC Dornsif. Official Twitter account of USC Dornsif College of
There's nothing
Letters,
funny about
Arts,
the
and
tools of
Sciences, the
capitalism.
Academy Corps of the University of Southern California in the heart of LA. Okay.
vote and found
Tucker White 94, unless these experimental questions relate to LSD and femboys, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I guess I don't get that one.
There's
Guardian.
nothing funny about the tools of
Oh,
capitalism.
Guardian Eden. I always forget. I keep forgetting. I don't know.
Hard for you.
I don't know. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. Sorry.
in the past 5 elections they've tracked, wisdom of the crowd is a better indicator than directly asking someone their intention. Which brings me to what I really want to show you. And it's betting odds. Now, I know betting odds aren't a guarantee. It's just what people think, but therein lies the point. If USC Dornsif is saying wisdom of the crowd is a better indicator, ladies and gentlemen, behold.
I'm just
It's another one of these. Why?
I'm just playing with her hair because I love her hair.
Jeez. Oh, it's from DraftKings, too. Did DraftKings literally just do a poll that's like, who on the internet thinks is gonna win? And then, like, it got posted on 4chan. And a bunch of people were like, go and vote for Trump multiple times. DraftKings. Cascadia93, I hope that Mr. Pim Tool uses the similar logic when it comes to climate change and the scientific consensus. Empty the tanks with 20 bits Baja. I relate, my partner is so ticklish I can't even touch his leg without tickling him.
From DraftKings.
And yes, California is a red state in this ridiculous map as well.
Election pool. Only one state thinks Joe Biden will be president. In this tweet, they say with over 350,000 entries, a majority of people in every state besides Colorado predict Donald Trump.
Okay. So at first he was talking about USC, right? Which is an actual university. So I thought it was going to be a study done by them. But really he just used them to say, well, USC has done some wisdom of the crowd polling, and it's usually accurate. So let me show you DraftKings, who does fantasy football and football betting stuff. We had an online poll, which is definitely as statistically valid, and I'm sure the people who are in the polls are just as vetted as a USC poll. Decided that California is going to go red. Very science, Tim. Much statistics.
Will be the winner of tomorrow's election. Now, Predict It doesn't say the same thing. They think the odds are favoring Joe Biden. But why then is it that Predict It is giving better odds to Donald Trump than 538? And that's the important question I want to look at today. I think regular people are sick and tired of what's going on. You know, we're seeing people boarding up their cities, New York, D.C., all across America. Why? It's not Donald Trump they're worried about. If you've got regular people boarding up, it stands to reason they understand the real threats of the far left. I think regular people know Joe Biden is bad. I think there are a lot of blind people. And I think when it comes to betting, people would be, well, I'd say people think you're dumb to vote against Donald Trump.
Let's look at betting stuff right now. Biden's been ahead in the betting pools, but we can take a look. Cascadia 93, 350,000. That's not even a 30,000th of a percentage of the population. It's also an internet poll. Don't trust internet polls, people. They're not scientific polls. What was I going to search? Betting odds election. Here's from an hour ago. 2020 election odds predictions. Biden odds hold at 68.2 versus Trump with 1 hour until first polls close. So right now, Biden is at a 68.2% chance of winning, according to the betting odds, and Donald Trump is at 31%. So basically, Donald Trump has a 1 in 3 chance of winning, according to the betting odds. Weird that Tim Pool is acting as though the betting, the bookies, basically, that set the odds for stuff like this. No, they're not saying Trump's going to win. You're literally basing this off an internet poll done by DraftKings, which is ridiculous. Do I even need to explain why this is stupid? This is a medical... This is like a pharmaceutical grade cope. I'll put it like that. This is a prescription grade cope. Look at DraftKings. They did an internet poll that said every state but Colorado is going to turn red. This is reasonable, right?
I don't know who you should vote against. I don't know who's going to win. But let me tell you this. I believe the polls are wrong for the 800th time. Now, that doesn't mean Joe Biden's going to win or lose. It just means I think the polls are wrong. And guess what? So do all of these people who are making bets. Let's take a look at what's going on. Before we do,
why do you think that a sample of people making bets on the election is somehow more informed or more accurate than the general population as a whole? Because it seems to me the kind of people who are making wagers on an election are probably pretty invested in one candidate over the other in the case of this DraftKings thing. Probably Trump voters who think they can make a buck off of Trump's win because they're incredibly confident that he's going to win, despite the fact that the statistics aren't bearing that out based on the polling models we have currently. Is that a red New York? Yes, it is. That's a red New York City.
Head over to timcast.com/donate. If you would like to support my work, there are many ways you can give. Got a P.O. box. You want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do, share this video. A lot of people may be relying on these polls.
Lucas Dawn, the polls will be in a margin of error, and Tim is still going to claim he was right, that the polls are wrong. That's what gets to me. Like I said, it's entirely possible Trump will win the election tonight. We don't know. We'll see. He won in 2016 with a very slim margin in the Electoral College of like 70,000 votes across however many swing states. It'll probably be within the margin of error, as it was in 2016. But Tim Pool will, because he put up this stupid, ridiculous map of every state, including New York and California, going red, he's going to be like, I was right, even though his map will be completely wrong. It's, there's a story about, to talk about the philosophy of being right and what it means to be right. This isn't a one-to-one because Tim's thing isn't as accurate, but a farmer goes out to try and see if, there's a farmer and his wife. The farmer says to the wife, hey, could you check and see if Bessie's out grazing in the field? She looks outside, looks for the cow, sees, she doesn't have very good eyesight. She sees, white with black splotches all over it out in the field. And she goes, yeah, Bessie's out there. The farmer, a little bit later, goes to check. And actually, what the wife was looking at was a sheet that's hung up to dry that just has a cow pattern on it. Interestingly, though, as he notices this, Bessie does in fact walk out from behind the sheet. Is the wife right? She was right in the sense that Bessie was there, but the reasons she was indicating that to be the case were entirely wrong. So if you're right by accident, philosophically, is that the same as being right based on evidence? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Winds Chanter with 29 bits. It is 2100, everybody. Mind their own business. It's 2100. Everybody minds their own business. People take drugs if they choose, and their safety and efficacy rates have never been higher. We have taken great strides in helping people with chemical dependence get more help than ever. STDs are at an all-time low due to legalized and regulated sex work. Humans are more productive than ever due to their high wages and great health care. This is a nice fantasy. I hope it's true. Someday. Winds Chanter with 30 bits. In this future, the last Trump supporter looks around and says, OMG, what a hellscape. Tired Park with 20 bits. I remember seeing polls featured on 538 showing that more respondents expect Trump to win than respondents who support Biden. People are just pessimistic. Yeah, I get that.
A lot of people
We all have like 2016 PTSD.
may be confused to how Trump won last time. Well, let me explain some things to you and show you what's going on and give you some reasons why it is. The polls may, in fact, be wrong, and I'll show you what regular people
Antipodian Squid with 150 bits. Boss time.
actually think. If you think I do a good job and my videos are reasonable, rational, and informative, please consider sharing them to help support my work. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's take a look at what's happening. In this image, as I've already shown you, the DraftKings election pool has all of their entries basically saying Trump's going to win in every state, except for Colorado. They say, haven't entered our election poll. It's absolutely free. People are being told.
Okay, again, so this is not a scientific poll. Literally anyone can click the link and do so. So what happened was this link got posted on 4chan or on wherever the people from the Donald went after it got banned from Reddit. I think they're on something called like the Donald.win. And they all went and they voted in this poll that anyone can do. It would be like if I put up a Twitter poll that said, who do you think's gonna win, Biden or Trump? And even if it got hundreds of thousands of votes, me pointing to that Twitter poll and being like, see? Look who won in this poll. Like, no, Tim, that's not how polling is supposed to work. You can't just have people opt in, because then you're going to have a bias towards people who would seek out or find the poll. You need to come up with models that make sure that the people who are participating in your poll are representative of the population you're trying to gain information of as a whole. Like, if I'm trying to poll Michigan, my home state, for instance, I need to get people into the poll that are a random sampling that end up being representative of the Michigan population as a whole after weighting all the responses and stuff. If you're doing it nationally, you get a random smattering of people from all over the country. You can't just post a poll on the internet and say, hey, anyone want to answer this poll, and expect to have accurate results that are representative of the population of the United States, or individual states for that matter. That's not how scientific polling works. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. How is this an argument by an actual human being? Bold of you to assume that Tim Pool is a human being.
To enter this pool, the election pool, through no cost of their own. And they're entering it saying, I think it's going to be Trump. Now, of course, Kyle Griffin of MSNBC says this is not how data works. And no one's suggesting this is hard data on what's going to happen.
You seem to be. You're spending a whole 30-minute video talking about it like it's helpful in any way. It's not even anecdotal. It's just a trash heap. Like, this information is so bad in terms of its, like, statistical non-relevance that you're actively misinforming people if you're saying that this is indicative of anything that's going to happen today. It's ridiculous. Catalina Gearbox with 50 bits. In this future, Indiana is swallowed by its own a-hole. Jesus.
It's just people going in saying it's going to be Trump.
Right,
but take a look at Predict It. Predict It is another betting market.
Darksider
and they say
615.
Donald Trump has about
Thanks
a
for following.
41% chance of winning. The way this works is you buy shares in an individual, and then once the race is over and the results are in, then it's about 64 cents to $1. So here's what happens. If you put 64 cents down on Joe Biden for one share, Joe Biden wins, you get $1 back. That means if you bet on Donald Trump, you're getting 60 cents for every 40 cents you put down. You're going to put in 41 cents. At least I think that's how it works. I don't really know. The point is, they're saying the odds are slightly better. Well, I'm sorry. The odds are significantly better for Donald Trump in the betting markets. Now, the thing about Predict It, and the reason I show this, is that Predict It actually costs you money, whereas DraftKings, they say, is free. The draft...
What are you is he completely misreading this? Because it's not. They're saying it's less likely that Donald Trump will win. The reason you win less if you put money on Joe Biden, he's completely misreading this. What a moron. Because you get less money from Joe Biden because he's the leader. So if you put money on Joe Biden, it's the safer bet, so you get less money back. If you put money on Trump, you will get more money back, specifically because he's the underdog and it's less likely that he will win. Does Tim Pool not understand how voting or how betting works? If you put money on someone who's less likely to win, then the payout is higher. Does he not understand that? Why is he talking about betting statistics if he doesn't even understand how the basics of gambling works?
Kings may just be Trump supporters going and spamming every single pool saying, I think it's going to be Trump.
Tucker White 94, seriously, polls that anyone can vote on are just asking to be effed with. Look at any poll that PragerU posts on Twitter. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Never trust internet polls. Never ever. They can be used for entertainment purposes, like I've occasionally posted polls just to ask silly questions or whatever. It's fine. But, like, never post an internet poll and expect people to give you accurate information.
But I'm not entirely sure that actually making a bet is free. They say entering our election pool is free, with 100K in prizes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a poll. We're gonna figure out some science, guys, okay?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Here's a new poll. This is scientific, folks. Oh, hold on. It's not letting me do it.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
How about now? There we go. Vote in the scientific poll, everyone. It's very, very accurate. Definitely vote in that. Tumek Von Raven with 300 bits. You were the first person I send money comment to. You always respond. If I send super chats on YouTube, no one responds. I thought your behavior was a standard. Nah, you're just a wholesome person. Oh, I try and get to it. It's going to be my downfall, though. If I ever get really popular, I'm not going to be able to get to every bit message, and it's going to be sad. But I'll try. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Include an I'm a troll option for really accurate results. Is cereal soup? Wow. These are not the results I was expecting. Science is weird. Is cereal soup? So far we have 55% saying yes, cereal is soup. Well, there we go. With 54% of the vote, cereal is soup. This is scientific, folks. Tim Pool has said so, okay? 35% said no and 12% said what? So, it's a landslide. That's a landslide for cereal soupers.
There's nothing funny
Winchanter with 20
bits.
bits. Cereal is soup, but you have to pour the cereal before the milk. There's no other acceptable answer. I agree. If anyone's putting the milk in before the cereal, what is wrong with you? You should not be around children if you're putting the milk in before the cereal. The poll was rigged. True.
So it seems like there's no harm in just, going in there and betting.
The what option was a spoiler? You gotta have a third party. You gotta have a third party candidate to ruin it for someone.
Maybe. When it comes to how people really feel, like if you ask someone, hey, no pressure, no demands, no requirements, just who do you think is going to win? They say, Trump. But when it comes to actually putting money on it, a lot of people are like, I don't know, man. The media, they're saying Joe Biden. Well, let me show you what Nate Silver is saying. Over at Newsweek, what Nate Silver had to say about Trump's chances on election day, one day until election. And I will counter this with another story arguing that the media is manipulating people to suppress their vote. Newsweek says, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is favored to win the election this Tuesday, according to the latest forecast on Monday by 5:38.
Tube man, cereal is not soup, it's a stew. It has milk in it. Fair enough. Cascadian 93, what equals Nader 2000?
However, President Donald Trump still has about a 10% chance of winning the election, says American statistician Nate Silver, the website's founder. According to the latest forecast by 5:38, Biden has a 90% chance of winning the election. But remember, that doesn't mean there isn't still a path for Trump. Trump might be the underdog, and he needs a big polling error in his favor. But bigger polling errors have happened in the past. It's not
Winchanter with 20 bits. One great thing about having 4 dogs and a bathroom door that doesn't lock, I never poop alone. That's nice.
necessarily true either. There have been a few forecasters who have put out electoral college maps that say these maps show a Trump victory without the polls being wrong. Within the polls and the margin of error, there is a path for Trump.
Yeah. Yep. No one said there isn't. It's just more likely that it would have to be a polling error, because even in the cases where we are talking about the margin of error, it would be very, very close.
Quote, a 10% chance of winning, which is what our forecast gives Trump, is roughly the same as the odds that it's raining in downtown Los Angeles. And it does rain there. Downtown LA has about 36 rainy days per year, or about a 1 in 10 shot of a rainy day. Pennsylvania could make or break the election. Recent polls have shown Biden to be leading in Pennsylvania. However, it has been a narrow lead, Silver noted Sunday. According to our forecast, Pennsylvania is the most likely tipping point state.
MMO addicted with 20-bit cereal is soup. Here in Poland in the 90s, 80s, we used to have dedicated milk bars, which were cheap eateries, and one of their breakfast staples were milk soups, basically noodles with milk and sugar, cocoa, or cinnamon if you were rich, bougie fuck, and cooking at home, served warm for breakfast. That sounds gross. No offense. I'm sure they're good. It just sounds weird to me. Baja Blast says, my dad says that cereal can't be a soup because you can eat it alone without liquid, and he wants me to emphasize that dad has spoken. Has he never eaten croutons on his own? Or oyster crackers. I just want to point that out there. Those are also things that go in soup. You can eat chicken and potatoes on their own, but you put them in the thing and they're soup. That's my argument, okay? You can being able to remove ingredients from a soup does not mean it's not a soup when you put them together in that specific combination.
And a lot of Biden's chances in the Electoral College hinge on what happens in Pennsylvania. He leads Trump there by about 5 points in our polling average.
Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Tim Pool, quote, the media is skewing public opinion on the election to get people to vote for Biden. Also Tim Pool, quote, here, let me quote from the media on the topic.
There's nothing funny about the
Yeah,
tools of
that seems to be a problem with fake news people. MMO addicted with 20 bits. Variations of it include bread on milk, replace noodles with bread. Rice on milk, replace noodles with rice. It is to this day popularly served at schools.
But it's not.
Soup is cooked, cereal isn't. Gazpacho is a thing that's served cold.
Not as large a margin as Biden might like. The results of the latest Reuters Ipsos weekly poll published Sunday, conducted among 1,006 adults, 673 likely voters, in Pennsylvania from October 27 to November 1st, showed 51% would vote for Biden, while 54% would vote for Trump. The poll had a credibility interval of 4 points, which means well within the margin of error. We don't know what's going to happen. Everybody wants to tell you they do know what's going to happen, and I think that's just hubris. Now, I want to show you something funny about Predict It. When you come here, they say, here are the rules. Okay, here we go. Predict It may determine how to settle the market, blah, blah, blah. Their decisions. Okay, I'm not going to, the rules are meaningless. But let's scroll down to what I really wanted to show you. A comment that I thought was really funny. One user said, posted a screenshot of a poll. In general, do you think more of your neighbors are voting for Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Likely voters said
There's nothing funny
Biden,
about the tools of
39%,
capitalism.
Trump, 48%. There you go. Nobody wants to admit they're voting for Trump.
If you feel ashamed about who you're voting for, maybe reconsider who you're voting for. Just a quick thing to point out. Polish milk soup illustrated. Ugh. No thanks.
And Nate Silver is adamant. There is no secret Trump voter. Drop it. It's not real.
Because I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. Trump voters are loud. They're vocal. They're a vocal minority. They're very, very loud. Why would they hide it? And if you feel if you felt ashamed about voting for Donald Trump, you wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. It just doesn't make sense.
I disagree. Because I know them. Because I have friends in my life who are like, please don't tell anybody, I will be destroyed. I know celebrities and musicians and pop culture icons who said I would lose all of my endorsement deals.
What pop culture icons does Tim Pool know in his personal life that he's pulling this anecdote from?
If anyone found out. I was in Hollywood.
Baja Blast, my dad is disappointed in you. I don't think I've ever met a dad who wasn't disappointed in me, so...
About 2 years ago, maybe. And I met a B-C-list celebrity, TV show actor, moderately well-known. And someone said, this guy's voting for Trump. And he's like, come on, shh. He get me fired. No joke. That person wouldn't even tell his friends. Like, shh, no one can know. We were in private. Trump secret voter is real. At least that's what I think. Now, interestingly, there's, according to Real Clear Politics, Trump is not accelerating like he was in 2016. They say, you know, in 2016, as we got closer to Election Day, Trump was improving. And then he sealed the deal. The polls were wrong, but he was improving. He says, that's not happening today. Well, I disagree. Take a look at this.
Devious Chillster with 20 bits. Source. Trust me, bro.
Donald's not done yet. Trump narrows gap to 6.
This is a Daily Mail article. The reliable UK newspaper, the Daily Mail. Tumak von Raven with 400 bits. Just before Election Day, Trump promised Poland a loan to build a nuclear plant like the 7th EU economy had no credits as a country. Biden has promised to actually hold Poland to international scrutiny about respecting abortion rights and LGBT rights. That's good.
Points across 12 battleground states and raises prospect of a late upset, despite being ahead by 10 points nationally. Well, Trump isn't ahead 10 points nationally. Biden is. They should probably phrase that better. But Trump is narrowing the gap. So he is accelerating. And at 6 points, that's arguably within the margin of error. I mean, Biden's support could be low.
Not typically. It would be very, very close. Usually a margin of error is like 3, maybe 4%.
Or Trump support could be higher. But we'll see. If they're as wrong as they were right now in 2016, Trump would still lose. It may be that they're even more wrong than ever. I don't know. I don't know why I should trust the polls. I don't know why I should trust the media anymore. And therein lies the big point, the main point. If the media is going to lie about so much.
You literally are talking about a media source, though. You're not talking. This is what bothers me about these people are like, oh, fake news, fake news. It's not that they think all news is fake. He's literally talking about a Daily Mail article. He just thinks media that isn't in his right-wing echo chamber is fake. Daily Mail, fine. Fox News, fine. OAN, fine. It's just like MSNBC and CNN. That's not fake news. That's you just not liking the way that certain networks cover certain information. Dr. Gamble, this sounds like denial. This video is very copy, for sure. Again, Trump could win, but this video feels like a cope, considering the polls are where they are at the time. At the time you made this video. Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. If my father were still here, Hannah, he would be super proud of you for living your authentic life. It was what he wanted for everyone to do, so at least one dad wouldn't have been disappointed in you. That's nice.
Then why should I?
Own is pronounced own. Okay, gotcha. I never knew how to pronounce that. I've only seen it written. I haven't heard people talk about own.
I believe their polling is true and correct. You see? I think it was maybe Matt Taibbi or Glenn Greenwald, I'm not sure. I think it was Matt Taibbi said that Trump is the most lying president, but the most lied about president. Not a day goes by I don't see some ridiculous lie in the media. Right now there's a story from the Daily Beast that says Trump's camp is sweating, they're going to lose. And I'm just wondering, who are you talking to? It's real. There's an image of Trump with like sweat coming off, and it was like Trump surrogates, and Trump seemed to be really nervous. They know they're going to lose. And I'm like, the people who I know who are connected to the Trump campaign are not sweating. In fact, they have a bigger problem. Hubris.
Tim Pool just knows everyone, don't you know? He knows high-ups in the Trump campaign. He knows pop cultural icons. He knows all sorts of celebrities. You know, Tim Pool. Jet-setting Tim Pool, who hangs out at all the Hollywood and Washington, D.C. parties where he rubs elbows with really, really influential people. Why does anyone believe this guy?
Yeah, the people I talk to who...
Do I think Tim Pool knew Epstein? No. Tim Pool could not afford Epstein prices. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. He knows all of them through his uncle who works at Nintendo.
Who know and are around the Trump circles are gloating and laughing. We're going to win, and we know it. Sorry, if they lose, it will be because of hubris, not because they're worried and panicked and sweating. Or at the very least, they really do think they're going to win. And maybe it's because of lawsuits, or maybe it's because the polls are wrong. I can't tell you, but they do think so. Trump, there's like one news story where he was walking off stage and he goes, let's end this. Trump thinks he's going to win. And Trump
is a narcissist. Of course he thinks he's going to win. Narcissists are incapable of recognizing the possibility that they might fail. Of course he thinks he's going to win. He's also been insulated from, like, every other person that could tell him, hey, just so you know, you're down in the polls. I have a feeling that the internal polling numbers that the GOP has, probably not great for Trump, considering, you know, polls in general haven't been great for him. And they're probably only showing Trump ones like Rasmussen or Trafalgar that are pretty crazy right-leaning polls most of the time. Nathaniel Rakic, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, says, I just want to re-emphasize for people that initial results could be misleading in many states. For example, one of the bluest counties in Florida will dump a bunch of probably very Democratic-leaning mail ballots right after the polls close here at 7 p.m. Eastern. That will make the results in Florida look really good for Biden, but the state will probably undergo a red shift as the election day votes are counted. Yeah, this is going to be a thing. And keep this in mind as you watch the coverage throughout the night, if that's something you're going to be doing. Because of the tremendous amount of mail-in and early voting, there's going to be what's being deemed either a red mirage or a blue mirage, depending on the state in which certain kinds of votes get counted first, and then later as the night goes on, other ones, whether if it's the earlier mail-in getting counted later or earlier, because the demographics are different. Democrats were more likely to do early voting than Republicans. So if one gets counted before the other, it's going to be, the early count is going to be shifting one way or another, and over the night it's going to, which is why it's very dangerous if Donald Trump were to say something like, let's say there's a red mirage going on or something, and he says, oh, I'm winning, shut it down, everyone stop counting votes, which he can't unilaterally do, by the way. He might try to do so, though, because of the kind of person he is. Basically, just be aware we probably won't have definite results until at least tomorrow, maybe later in the week. It's gonna suck, but it is the truth. It can take a while to count all the votes.
Trump wins. I mean, look at his life. But we do have one reason to suggest why the polls may be wrong. Take Nigel Farage, the architect of Brexit. They said Brexit would never happen. For those who aren't familiar, it's when Britain left the European Union. They said it will never happen. No one's going to vote for this. And then they did. And then it got jammed up in Parliament. They were trying to leave the EU, but couldn't get done. And then something wonderful happened for the people of the UK. December 13th, I believe, 2019. The Conservatives won so resoundingly that certain areas that hadn't voted left in nearly 90 years switched to Conservative. Shocking everyone. The polls certainly did.
The right-wing populist movements, both in the United States and the UK, are alarming. And every left-leaning politician, including Biden and Harris and, you know, a myriad of other people, the DNC in general, needs to take note and recognize that this neo-lib, corporatist, centrist policymaking that is not helping working class individuals and has helped create a situation where income inequality is the highest it's been in decades and decades and decades, it's going to cause them to lose support. It just is. Like, you can't do this shit. You can't stop supporting unionization and worker rights and then expect workers to still want to vote for you. Even if you are the lesser of two evils, at a certain point people get numb to that messaging and they just say, you're both evil. I don't care. You're not helping me. Which is why the Democrats need to shift further and further leftward so they can actually help their constituents. Tumak von Raven with 500 bits. To all Americans that make fun of liberals employing female drone pilots, what is a meme for you is a world-created message for countries that depend on U.S. military power and influence. It's funny it's funny internally, but it does make sense to make baby steps in other countries. I guess, but we're generally making fun of the focus on certain aspects of identity politics in, like, over solid policy making. That's what's being made fun of there. Title Bell with 20 bits. How are polls able to suppress turnout? The idea being that, oh, this person's going to lose in a landslide, so why even bother to go out and vote? I don't know how true that ends up being ever. I don't know if there's actually been studies on if that does that, but there are a lot of people who claim it does. The Leftist Owl, thank you for following. Marco Rubio just suggested a blue wave. Let me see. In 2016, Republicans ended with a 0.6 turnout advantage in Florida. Just wait until you see what it is this time. No, he's saying it's going to be a red wave. I mean, the picture's blue, but that's because waves are made of water, which appear blue. Like, I'd be impressed if he could find a gif of red water.
Did not predict it. The polls were off. But the polls did expect conservatives, the Tories in the UK, to win. They just thought that the left would be able to form a coalition and have the majority. Nope, not what happened. The people of the UK said Brexit again 3 years later. So why should I believe the media, and why shouldn't I take the word of Nigel Farage for what he's saying? He planned Brexit, and he won.
Brexit isn't going very well from what I've read, but go on, Tim.
What he's saying now. Mainstream media using polls to suppress Trump turnout. Quote, I think that polling is often used by the establishment as a way of disincentivizing the other side to go out and vote. Mainstream media polls showing Joe Biden with a wide lead are failing to accurately gauge support for Trump and are being used to suppress Trump voter turnout, according to Brexit architect Nigel Farage. Farage, the British politician
Leftist Owl, thanks for subscribing.
who led an underdog movement to remove the UK from the European Union, said he believes Trump will win despite current polls, just like in 2016. Quote, I think that polling is often used by the establishment as a way of disincentivizing the other side to go out and vote. Farage said on Just the News AM television show. The morning of Brexit, there was a poll released that said Remain in the EU were 10 points ahead. And it was done very simply to say to potential Leave voters, do you know what? If it's raining, don't bother to get down to the local school and vote.
I don't think that was intentional. The idea that that's an intentional fake poll and not just a badly done poll or a poll that wasn't representative of the final results, I think is quite a claim. If you're going to claim that, you need to back that up. You can't just say it and expect people to take it seriously. MMO addicted to 20 bits not going well is mild. It's like saying Trump has a fairly healthy and natural if slightly tinted complexion.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Do I believe in UFOs? What do you mean? I mean, unidentified flying objects? Sure, unidentified. Do I think that they're alien spaceships? No, I don't. I think aliens probably exist or have existed or will exist somewhere else in the universe. I don't think humans are the only intelligent life that has ever or will ever exist, but I don't necessarily think we'll ever make contact with them because of the distances and time involved, you know. What else? Rock Headsling, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1.
Because you're going to lose anyway. Farage said he was struck
Happy birthday, Leftist Owl.
with American polls because of what he called tiny sample sizes, generating margins of error between 3 to 4%. Come on, you know. Oh, in Florida, Biden's a half a percent ahead. It's ridiculous because the margin of error is several times bigger than that.
Okay, that doesn't mean the margin of error goes both ways, Tim. You can't just say, well, the margin of error. To assume that the margin of error will always go in favor of a Republican completely misses the point of a margin of error. No, that's not what it is. It worked that way in many places in 2016, but that doesn't mean it'll hold true for the models that are happening today in 2020.
He's right. The margin of error is massive in these polls. They had a historical error of 5% in 2016, and they failed to call Florida in 2018, as I mentioned in my previous segment. Within the mainstream media in recent decades,
the reason they bring up Florida from 2018 is because even though the 2016 polls had a pretty big margin of error relative to historical margins of error, in 2018 they were pretty spot on. Florida was an exception, not the rule.
Voter suppression is typically cited by Democrats who say Republicans aim to keep progressive voters from turning out. He said he absolutely believes that polls this year are meant to suppress Republican turnout. I also think that after the year we've been through, and after the hysteria over Black Lives Matter, and the fear that if we even question the Marxist movement, that somehow we're going to be condemned for being racist and put on...
Marxist movement. Hey guys, you know the... Hey, cops, will you please stop shooting me for the color of my skin? Communists! God, I hate this country. Okay, I think we're done with Tim Pool for today. I think we get the gist of Tim's thing. He thinks polls are BS. He thinks that they're intentionally manipulated by the mainstream media in order to reduce Republican turnout with absolutely no evidence to back up that statement. We get it. Tim Pool, kind of stupid. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Tim Pool, intentionally misleading in order to push his points forward. Anyway.